everything is a conversation. Every voice has value, and every conversation is an opportunity to transform lives. Join us on the journey to find the gold. Hello from us. Welcome to our episode 5. We got a beauty for you. Where are we coming from today?
We are hello from us at the Ungerman Brothers Milk Bar.
Come on.
It is a really special place.
Great coffees.
Great honeycomb milkshake. Food is delicious.
So
Check
good.
it out. It's in Ipswich, Ungerman Brothers. They have socials, and so look them up. It's really a fantastic venue.
So good.
Yeah.
What are we in store for today, Tish?
Well, today, episode 5, we've got a really special guest. Them and their family are heading back to Thailand. They've lived there for 7 years and have just been really involved in reaching the Thai community and helping people find purpose and building a great sense of connection and community. But today our episode focuses on heartstrings across borders. So just talking about the world being a big place, but it really isn't such a big place.
Yeah.
It's a small place if we become outward focused and then actually decide that little old me on this side of the world can do something for someone that I've never met before.
Yeah,
we can all be a little bit kind, compassionate, and it just talks about how empathy can cross borders, can cross boundaries of cultural boundaries, language boundaries, but yeah, it transcends and it can bring unity and it can bring such positive impact and change.
Yeah, so it's going to be amazing and we know you're going to enjoy it. But again, we're so grateful that you're on this journey with us, and thank you for the love that you guys send us and all of our merch that's been going out. We're
thank
so
you for your love for the apparel.
Come
That's
on.
been keeping us a little bit busy, but we're so appreciate your support.
Yeah, so it's good. But we love you guys, and let's get into episode 5.
Hey, we're here with my good friend Enoch Kenway, and I've known Enoch since about 2009 when him and Summer, his wife, moved from Cairns to Mackay.
Come on.
So yeah, we bonded over some spicy curry, and that was it. Remained friends since then, and just had a number of years serving our community and involved in different community initiatives. But more recently, Enoch and his wife Summer have been living in Thailand with their 3 children, Levi, Asher, and Faith, and just doing an incredible work over in Thailand and involved in lots of different initiatives. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that today, how our compassion and our empathy can cross cultural and physical boundaries and distances. Over to you, Enoch.
So good.
Yeah, tell everyone about you a little bit more.
I don't have a lot to share besides.
Come on.
I do love curry. I love food, and so yeah, that's a way that we connect. And I love people, so connecting with people, doing life together, making new friends. It's never too awkward for me to meet someone new.
Yeah.
We always I like to have things quite light-hearted. So, if I've offended you in your past and you're watching, please forgive me. It wasn't done.
Sorry, not sorry, right?
And, so it's been great. We've been in Thailand for, we just came back for a year and now currently working with ACCI.
Wow.
With missions and relief, with projects all over the world. I think we're involved in 30 to 40 countries, and it's a real privilege to be playing a role in that. So it's great.
It's so good.
Talk to us a little bit about how a family in Mackay,
Yes.
who hasn't lived in Thailand before,
Yes.
packs your bags and moves you, your wife, your 3 kids over there to a country you don't know a lot about, a language you don't speak. What was the thinking around that, and what are some of the narrative that you had to convince yourself of?
Well, maybe we weren't thinking.
That's a good plan.
Don't overthink it. I think for Summer and I, Summer's my wife, and we've just in life, we were married at a very young age. So my wife was 18, I was 19, so nearly been married 18 years now. And so I guess from early on, we started really our marriage and as a couple together. We saw this combi van. We were at a connect group on a Wednesday night, and I saw it. I said, "I wish you'd travel Australia." And we came back down the hill at the end of that night, and we're like, "Let's do it."
Yeah,
and
wow.
3 weeks later, we pretty much resigned our work and went and travelled Australia. So I don't know, maybe our personalities were a bit easier to sort of go, hey, we've got one life to live. Let's make an impact. Let's enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. I think it's really important of not being someone, well, for me personally, I don't desire to have the house with the white picket fence. And, you know, like, it's all good. We're blessed to have a house, but that's not really the goal in life for me. And so, that's, so to answer that question, it was probably a little easier for us just with our personalities, fairly relaxed in approach. But also when there's a conviction that happens, when there's something that gets inside of you, it's sort of like, I'm willing to sacrifice my own comforts because I'm passionate about helping people.
Come on.
And so if that's gonna like lay down some things, like I'm okay. And I'm willing to go through some muckiness or some discomfort because Summer and I generally just love people and want to do our best to serve them. And there was a moment of like, oh, we're taking our kids on this journey, but we also thought, what an experience. If that's one way as a mum and dad could take our family and go, let's model what we have in our hearts and model that to them. So, but it didn't happen overnight. It was probably a sort of 6-month process from where we sort of got that conviction to actually sort of making a decision, and then another 6 months to leave. But
did you find your family adapted? Like, did your kids adapt to that quite easily?
I'll be honest.
Be honest, we're like honesty.
Because, well, my son is 14, and so he's at the age where he probably could watch a podcast in the future. So my kids were 4, 6, and 7 when we went over. We were over for that period of time. My daughter, Faith, really didn't remember Australia by the time we got back. Her only memory of Australia was a 3-week family break. We came back. And her memory of Australia, everyone has swimming pools because we always went to houses that had swimming pools. And that. So, but my son really struggled for the first sort of 2 years and kind of nearly, his personality nearly disappeared, to be honest. And so then he came back to it in his feet and started to feel belonging because in the environment we were in Mackay, like he would come into our staff office and he was part of the family and you know he would give him the key to the office and so he could do whatever he wanted, and then to take him to a place where everyone's touching him because he's
novel,
white,
and
then he doesn't understand everyone and all that kind of thing. So it kind of really isolated him.
Well, there's that whole cultural barrier, isn't it, that you're bringing kids into.
And they didn't really have a choice. Like, they came. I knew why I was there. So with the cultural frustrations that you have, there was a why in my heart. But for kids, they don't know the why. So, but they love Thailand, and looking forward to actually returning in the future. So it's going to be great.
Great destination. Holiday destination. Oh, we could do a hello from us
on,
there.
Hello from Thailand.
Come on, hello.
Episode 12, we've been locking it in. There's an international conference.
There you go.
You guys along.
No, that's awesome. So, mate, with the world being as big as it is and so diverse, what in your heart, what made you just go, this is for us, this is where we're going?
Well, it's interesting. I think it is big and diverse, but in the one way, it's also small and unique, and humans connect. You know, I think that sometimes we have stigmas around cultural boundaries and barriers. And so we just go, well, it's all over there, and I actually think the world's becoming smaller. We are way more connected. We're way more multicultural than ever before. And so, for me, I've lived in Aboriginal communities here in Australia, in remote areas in the Kimberleys, with my wife and I. And so we really loved learning cultures and learning traditions and different things. And it's amazing that even though you're not born into that, you don't have any heritage in that area, as long as you can have some human connection. You know, what's something that you can connect with? If that's a sporting connection, or if that's a food connection, music. And so I just think that, yes, it is big and diverse. But do you have a heart to help these people? And if you come with this pure motive, I think that transcends through language, through different things. Hearts Connect is like, And I think that's one of the best comments that we could ever receive.
Yes.
Is that there was purity, there was integrity,
Yes.
and there's authenticity in what our family were trying to be
Yes.
part of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it's big and diverse, but also, let's be honest, I can get from Brisbane to Thailand within a day.
Yes.
It takes me longer to get to Perth sometimes.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's true.
and it is different, but I think, I don't know, for us, we didn't overthink it too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now knowing what we know, there are quite a lot of complexities.
So I do have a question around that. A little bit of a Mythbusters in
Sure.
this segment. Can you talk to us about some things that you thought would be an issue before you got there, in terms of culture, language, how you're going to break through in terms of how you're going to get past a language divide or explaining yourself or not being misunderstood. Some Mythbusters, like you thought that was an issue, but when you got there, you found it was really a non-issue.
Yeah.
Or talk to us about some funny stories about things that were an issue.
Yeah.
What did you?
Our listeners love to hear this stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's real life. You talked about authenticity before.
Totally.
That's big.
It's hard because we were there for a period where things became quite normal.
Yes.
And so things only started to reveal to us when we would have a team or a friend would come visit and they'd be like, I can't believe the traffic. Or how do they run to the electricity? Or how do you eat? And there's rats sometimes like running under the table and it's like we're just like eating our noodles and it was like very normal. And it's only revealed when someone comes in. So
It's the obvious.
I'm like probably quite sensitive in the sense of like think all that's quite normal to me.
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
And in one way I kind of miss that. I miss the
What,
raw...
rats running under the table
Well,
you eat?
I'm actually okay. I'm like, sometimes we just, not that
No.
you're not wanting to get sick or something,
Yes.
but I'm like, there's literally millions and nations
come on.
that, sometimes in the West, we can complicate things.
Yes.
And I just love when there's a fresh barbecue chicken on the side of the road that has the Thai spices. And yes, there might be some road ash, coming on it. It's like, they chop it
Full
up.
flavour, right?
Oh, man.
Crunch.
The tamarind sauce that they have.
Come
and
on.
It's so good. And, so yeah, I think, I guess, what was the question again? Was around what are some things?
Yes, that you thought would have been an issue, but
Yeah,
were not.
well, I mean, language has complexities.
Yes.
But we're so thankful for Google Translate as well.
Yes, come on.
So
How many times have you used Google Translate over there?
honestly, people that relocated to other nations like 30, 40 years ago, like my hat goes off to them. Like walking into like a town to your local sort of tourist centre to find a map to sort of work it out.
Yes.
Where these days, like I have more information than I
At
know
your
what to do
fingertips
with
now,
it.
right?
I
Yes.
was just driving here from the Gold Coast, and I'm like, I had 4 different options of how to get here. So back in the day, I'm just like, one highway, let's get there.
Refer to the Refidex.
That's right.
Remember the old reference?
Oh,
You had
so
to go like
good.
13
Oh,
L,
B2. Yeah.
and then you had to pull over because you couldn't like stick it in, and then
They
you like.
either broke marriages or strengthened them, honestly.
So true.
Mum and Dad had some killer good fights on those things. Everyone knows the right way. So yeah, I think there are things as I mean, probably for me just living there, and because we weren't there just as tourists, we weren't there visiting. That was our home.
Yeah.
Our kids went to Thai only school.
Yeah.
My daughter speaks pretty much fluent Thai. She learned to read Thai and write Thai before English.
Yeah, wow.
So even now, the way that she writes Thai is back to front. I mean, writes English is back to front a little bit.
Okay,
So
yes.
where she starts at A's
Yes.
and B's and things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, like, Thailand was our home. It wasn't a.
Come on, yeah.
It wasn't a project.
Yeah.
It was our
Yeah.
home, and
Makes
and
a difference, doesn't it?
totally.
When
We,
you own it for yourself.
it was really, really part of it. So, yeah, there's lots of different things, but probably the biggest thing that still is quite a challenge is cultural mindsets,
Yes.
leadership mindsets,
Yeah.
or the way that community development happens, or where often in the West we think about our effect, but how that would affect things to come.
Yeah.
On the way here, actually, I was stuck in traffic for over an hour and sort of like a little frustrated, but knew that I had like a bit of time in the day.
Yeah.
And I got stuck to this sign, and it was this back-to-back sign on the side of the road. I was there for probably at least 10-15 minutes stationary. I looked and there was all these spider webs in between the two signs, and there was like this aluminium channel. And I just thought, I'm like, that wouldn't happen in Thailand. They wouldn't put aluminium in between two signs because that's more expensive than just basic like steel. But in Australia we would, because that's going to last another 30, 40 years of the not rusting away.
Yes.
And so we're kind of in a society where we're thinking about a life beyond ourselves as well.
Yes.
If we're going to build a house, we want it to be still stable in 40 years.
Yes.
Time. Where aspects in Asia is they might not have the ability or the finances to be able to think that far ahead.
Yes.
It's like a little bit more survival. Hey, I need to get this ready for today, or I'm fixing a car, I'll do what I have to do for today.
Yes.
Where we would be like, hey, let's preempt.
Yes.
And do things for the future.
Which talks a little bit about the fact that we're probably not aware of just about that kind of blessing and privilege, because we think that's a natural part of our makeup, is that we begin with the end in mind, or we can plan for a futuristic response. Whereas majority of the world is planning for survival.
Yes.
And so that kind of highlights that we probably often don't acknowledge that people don't have the means. Or the energy to do that.
It's really a luxury, really. That we can put time, energy, finances, resource, people into things that are going to affect way into the future.
Yes.
100%.
That is a mindset and a cultural sort of where you don't realize that's what you have until you're immersed in something else that's not. So there's lots of different funny stories along the way. Just trying to think one off the cuff. But I'll think about it during the podcast. That'd be great. Wait until the end. If I don't share one,
watch the space.
Unsubscribe. No, just kidding. But if I do, you got to invite 2 friends. Right?
Come on. Awesome. So you lived in Chiang Rai, 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
Wow, it's a long time, isn't it? To be in a community. So what were some of your ways that you used to connect, to build relationship into that community?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you kind of have a few ideas when you go and do something. I think that's just life. You have an idea, but often in life, the idea you have doesn't actually end up being what you intended at the start. It kind of takes you on the road. So, we lived in Chiang Rai, and we had a couple of connections originally. But early on, they were involved with other things, and so we kind of felt like we were sort of by ourselves, just Summer and I and our family. And we're wanting to build a community, help young people find their dreams, and us really being part of their story to fulfill what is on their life with their gifts and talents. And so we lived in, I'd say, when I say village, it's like a suburb, but we're on the outskirts of the suburb. So we had a rice field in our backyard. And so it was kind of like a developing suburb. And so there was certain things where it's like, what do you do 5 days a week to connect with people? Like, once you've got your groceries, once you do this, it's like, how do you connect? And so we just used to do intentional random things. So I would intentionally go to the Tuesday night walking street market in our suburb. So they closed down the streets, and I'd walk in there, and I would be intentional about making conversation with anyone and anyone that moved. I was that awkward Australian in that market. But there was intent behind it. And then through that, it's interesting, we were talking about before about sort of a Western sort of type of mindset and different things. Well, in these suburbs, they don't have like a local council. They call it a headman, which is like your suburb mayor. But there's no council workers cleaning streets or doing that sort of thing. And so after 2 months, all the streets just had all this grass that was 3 feet tall all along. And when you're on your motorbike and car, when the grass is really tall right at the edge, you have to slow down a lot because you can't see through the corner. And so I just said to someone, I'm just going to mow our lawn or whatever with the wicker snipper. And I kind of kept creeping out and got to the road. And in the end, I walked up 500 meters and did the whole street at one side. I walked on the other side and then the other street. And it was looked really nice. I'm so good. I'm it's done. And I kept doing that every month. And then next thing that came out is like the village headman came and joined me, and then I think by month 3 or 4, every time I come out, they must have had like the village jumble going, and there was like 10 to 15 people that would come out with their whippersnippers and come out and help, and it was just a way of me going, hey, I'm part of this. I'm not going to be the guy that complains and in my nice lounge room going, so that was just a natural way that we're like, can we be a blessing? Can we help?
I love it.
We did another thing. We had a community playground that was completely overgrown, and so I did this thing. It took me about 4 days back and forth, and got this playground back up to scratch. And again, families, communities were now using that. Our kids would come riding on their bikes.
I love it.
And so they were just intentional, practical ways that we were trying to be a blessing, but through that, connected us to the heart of people.
That's right, and you're building inroads into the lives of people.
Yeah.
And building meaningful relationships.
And I think from the start, we said, the world is big and it's diverse, but in the same way, it's small and there's a lot of things that connect. And I think if we come with pure motives, I feel like, I actually want to know you, I want to know your story. And so, that was a few different ways. We connected, and one way that we really naturally connected was I had a couple of Thai guys that I started to build friends through the university, and they invited me to play soccer, or they call it football. And so we came, and we were doing it for about 6 months, and it was great. And I said to them, hey, if I book a field, would you guys bring your friends? Like, I'll pay for it, don't worry about it. I think it was like $30 for the night for the field. And I said, bring your friends. And so for the last 6 years, we've been running a soccer connect, a football connect.
That's cool.
Where over the years, there's literally been hundreds of young people that have come through that. And now, I'm not saying like I'm best friends with them all, but through it, there was a genuine community and love for one another. I got invited to many of their weddings as they've grown up, graduations, and some of them are really close friends of mine right now.
That's so nice.
And in the end, a few of them became some of my very closest teams. The ones that were really close to me, and so it came through a common connection. So I think cross-cultural connection is like, what's common? Or sport. Or music, or food. I hated going to the burger shops or anything like that. It's like, tell me what that is. And in Asia, you eat off each other's plates, so it's very normal. So if someone comes in and grabs a spoon off your plate, like, don't be offended. It's them kind of, what do you got there? I'll try that too. They won't really ask. It's just, So that, and it's always communal. So it's always generally it's plates in the middle, bowl of rice, and then we all serve. And if it's not, and you order separate meals, well, it's still the same principle. I'll try that. Letitia and Cindy. So I won't get into your milkshake right now.
I guarantee I won't be getting into your latte.
Come on. Honestly, check out this cafe. I didn't really want to drink it because it was so good. Awesome.
No, that's so cool. I think it's so important that we do, build great communities around us, and how that looks for everybody is different, isn't it?
Totally.
But the idea is to still get in there with the heart of just let's build meaningful connection.
And I think it's important to be intentional. Because I don't know about you, but I get lazy. I got my own agendas. I want to do what's me. But be intentional. So we didn't really want to. We're just playing, to start with, intentional football together. So
cool.
have a few of our guys that were intentional about why we were doing it. But we didn't have banners out there, or we didn't have signage or a Facebook group. It was just like, we're intentionally going to go to this field every week on Thursday night to connect with people.
That's cool.
So,
what it sounds like, Enoch, it sounds like whether you live in Chiang Rai or whether you live in Mackay or down in the southeast, it sounds like your heart is to have no agenda but to help people, right? And so what are some awareness do you think we need as a Western society? Because I think generally, naturally, everyone wants to help someone. But what are some of the mindsets we need to probably become aware of? And what are some things we need to shut down in the sense of like, sometimes it's not even that we don't want to help people, but we think, what can little old me on this side of the world, how could I possibly affect change for somebody else? So what would you tell our listeners to making it about others, being a bit more outward focused?
Yeah, I think maybe like for me, it maybe comes from a lot of experiences that I've had in the past.
Yes.
And people, I don't know, that have invited me.
Yes.
And also the opposite of when I haven't been invited into a community. You know, I think, you know, as a sporting person growing up, I know that feeling when you went around and you went for the football team.
Yes.
You're the last one.
Yeah.
But I also know the feeling when you're the first one.
Yes.
Or you're running late and then someone said, hey, come over and join with us.
Yeah.
It's that place of bringing in. I think for me that's always resonated with me is like, I don't want to have someone left on the outer.
Yes.
Like,
Bring them in.
And just bring them in. And so I think as a society, let's do our best to embrace.
Yes.
You know, and I'm as comfortable as anyone. I love hanging out with close friends.
Yes.
And we can just chit chat and there's no filters and it's like off we go. But at the same time, I hope I'm also the person when someone walks through the front door when I'm in the middle of a conversation with a friend.
Yes.
Hey, come over, join in with us. Bring a seat around.
Yes.
You know, and so it's that really the culture of invitation, the culture
Yes.
of invite and bringing and belonging. And I think the best way community is always built is face to face.
Yes.
It's not from like a platform or it's not from a projection.
Yes.
But it's community. Like I love the word community. It speaks to me about a circle.
Yes.
You know, facing one another.
Yes.
We're belonging together. We're in a culture where we're doing stuff together.
Yeah.
Because you can be in the city but not in a community.
Yes.
And I think find the community, find the people group, and just I guess let it be a cultural trait of your life outside of a project or outside of trying to. All right, this weekend we're going to be a blessing to our community. I think it's important if you're a leader listening. Sometimes you need to help lead that. So that is putting on an outreach weekend or a community connect weekend.
Yes.
We're going to put a barbecue on at the tennis club, you know, as our organisation or whatever. Well, that's you bringing leadership of trying to help to make a culture. But hopefully, when it's in us and then within the leaders, it just happens.
Yes.
But until that happens, we got to lead it. And so I try to, as a leader, to lead that. Because I'm generally involved in sort of influencing younger people or involved in leadership. So I'm like, well, that's my responsibility. I'm not going to get up and sort of ask people to be involved with something if I'm not going to do it myself.
That's so good.
I want to try to lead that
by
myself.
example.
One of the things we say about the way this podcast started was everything is a conversation. And the thinking around that was so many things. We can stand up for so many things about what we don't believe in or what disconnects us or what we don't want to be a part of. But we wanted it to be a safe space to bring conversations back to the middle ground. And you're talking about being part of a community, but also being a safe space for community, being a fosterer of community. So not just finding it, but creating it. And I think it's something that is really... there's a space for that in our world. There's a space for authentic, genuine community and safe space. And so, what do you want to leave with our listeners to encourage them about how can you be a safe place and a community?
I think firstly, don't act like you know what you're doing 100%.
Come
on.
Like authenticity is being real. Like, I often. And sometimes, you know, I've grown up with listening and reading some leadership books, and it's like, well, you know, don't always share your weaknesses because you want to sort of know that you'll be out in a place. And I think I understand the concept of that. But in the same way, I do think that we're in this society of a world where everything's quite fake too. You know, and it's like, I can't even take a photo these days that hasn't got a filter on it because, you know, I want to portray a certain way before I let the world know who I really am.
That's it.
And I think, so just be authentic. And I think for me, in my experience, I'll share a bit more of that cross-cultural aspect. Is I didn't go in saying I know what to do. I fumbled through stuff. I fumbled to the soccer thing.
Yeah.
But there was this purity of going like, I don't know. You know, I couldn't even play soccer, and so they always put me in the goalkeeper because that's where you normally put the people that can't play. So they always go, oh, John, or the Flung can go, you know, play soccer. And apparently, if you're a football fan, apparently I look a little bit like DKR, who's a really famous.
Oh, actually, you do too.
No way.
Yeah, you do a little bit.
Whatever. I can get an autograph later.
No, you do.
I can't pretend that I know who that is.
My niece is very much into soccer, so yeah.
I did adopt Man U as my forever team.
Oh,
so they put me into a corner over some, we call it Mugatar, which is like a Thai beef, pork buffet. And they said to me, who are you following? Arsenal, Liverpool, Man U, Man City. And then my best friend goes for Man U, and that was the only thing that.
Come on.
Yeah, so I think just being really authentic.
Yes.
Because that cuts through anything that we are facing, you know. And I don't know about you, but I resonate with someone that's raw, someone that's a bit emotional about stuff, and I'd rather connect with that than someone that's cookie cutter, got it all together.
Yes.
I've been around like some really great leaders in my life, and so by default, I can sort of act a certain way and portray a certain persona. But as I'm growing as a leader and someone that loves people, I was like, man, I just want to be me. You know? Like, I'm not trying to be anyone else. And as I make mistakes, let's be the first to sort of acknowledge that and go, hey, I'm sorry, but my intention, as long as your intentions, you know, has a good motive and around it, I think, you know, there's so much grace for mistakes. Yeah. You know?
100%.
So
we all make them.
I think for the listeners that are listening to this podcast, is like, don't be afraid to try new things and make mistakes. It's not, as long as you're going with it with purity and you want to help people or
great
serve
intention,
the community, like, mistakes.
Yes.
Good. Like, it's a learning.
It is a learning.
And so,
So you're headed back to Thailand in March with the family?
Well, our faith goal that we're believing for, because there's just a few things that will line up. So last week, our first week of April is our sort of deadline.
Yes.
So we're expecting last week March, first week of April. And so I'll be finishing up my paid full-time role at the end of this year with ACCI. But I still will be heavily involved with ACCI as an organisation, but as a volunteer. And be working with our intern program. Yes. So good. And then also around different pioneering works. Yes. I'll be still heavily involved with that. So it's kind of like I'm leaving more of a paid role. Yeah. And then really focusing on selling our house.
Yeah. You're going all in, man.
Yeah, we're
all
going
in. All in.
Selling our house. And our kids will help to transition, say goodbye to their friends, and then also in the process of fundraising as well.
Yeah.
So that sort of requires a lot of energy and travel. And for us as a family, we're actually not looking really for support. We're looking for like partners. People that want to like, I'm with you on this. You know,
on the journey.
And as you said, it's not a project. This is the life you want to create.
This is real life.
So it's not like I've got 2 years, we're going to achieve this in 2 years. It's like, forever. So we will be relocating to a new city, Chiang Mai. And that's the second largest city in Thailand. And we feel like some of the initiatives that we're going to move forward around community and helping young leaders rise up and reach their potential within movements and denominations and networks will really serve us best out of Chiang Mai. Yes. Because it's sort of like a capital city as such. Where if you try to do something a bit more national level from a regional area, it just is a lot more complex.
No, that's so good.
So it's exciting.
So tell our listeners, for anyone's interested in the work that you guys are going to be doing or following you, how can we reach you on socials or website or partner with you?
It's Enoch Kenway. I'm the only Enoch Kenway, I think, on socials. But maybe message me that you've listened to the podcast so that I'll friend you or something. But we also have a website as well called kenwaysmission.com, and that just explains what we've done in the past, who we are, the passions about what we wanted to do going forward, and then also we're just sharing our heart of why we're going.
That's awesome.
because I think if you ever do anything significant in life, there has to be a strong why.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we're sharing the why.
That's awesome.
And so we're praying that people would partner with us because of the why. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you're ultimately involved in helping people find their why about life?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And helping people find their why, and then also helping people with the gifts and talents that are upon their life flourish in them.
Yeah.
And I think
awesome.
each one of us sometimes gets stuck with an opportunity, but it's outside of our gifts and talents.
Yeah.
And it's a season, but when you're born for something, when there's something upon your life, and if you can actually fulfill that, it's the most satisfying thing.
Yeah.
Love it,
There's
mate.
joy that flows.
Yeah.
You make an impact. So
that's great.
helping people is really, I say this often, is people are our passion.
Come on.
I used to say that in the community we led in Chiang Rai.
Yes.
Why are we here? People are our passion.
Yeah. Come on.
We have purpose.
Such a good
and
slogan.
so, if you're passionate about people, it's like you love when people are on the mountains tops,
Yes.
in the valleys,
Yeah.
you're there
Just
for
love
them.
them,
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're so incredibly grateful that you've stopped by and
So
just
good.
had a yarn with us today.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely put all your details in our show notes so people can connect with
good,
you.
yeah.
And but we like to ask our guests 3 questions before we finish.
Oh, here we go.
It's pretty easy. It's 1 question but 3 answers.
All right.
What 3 things make you instantly happy?
Oh.
Whoa.
Okay, instantly have often coffee.
Come on.
I'm not after this profoundly. Coffee's good, so I'm generally wake up, often think of coffee first thing. I'll say people. I love people. I love cultures. So those things really make me happy. And what makes me happy is being involved in seeing people reach their potential.
Oh, I love that.
Come on.
That's so good, man.
I love seeing or being involved in someone's journey of where they are or where they were to where they are now, and just maybe I've just played a small part in that. That makes me tick.
That's so good.
To round off this episode, one story about being lost in translation. One funny story about being lost in translation in Thailand.
Oh, well, I used to run a bilingual community. And so often there'll be things that would be said in the wrong way. And one time, actually I can't say that. That one's probably a bit more than PG.
Well, you'll all be listening and wondering what that is, but let's get another one from you.
I'll put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments.
At the end, message in the comments, I'll let you know. But I was with pure motives, and I'm like, hey, at the end of the service, we're doing some things, grab a coffee, grab some morning tea, or whatever, something like this, and go help yourself. But in Thailand, that means something completely different. So, anyway,
that's lost in translation,
that
right?
Was lost
There you go. You've got it.
So, anyway, you can message these guys about the details of that.
Well, thank you again. We love you, you and Summer, and what you guys are doing in your family, and we know we're going to be cheering you on.
Thanks for having me part of it. So good.
No, it is good. Well, this is our last podcast for this year, so next time you see us, it's going to be in 2024.
Yeah.
Come on
and
now.
there's more in 24.
There is so much more in 24. Wow, look at you go. All the little things. But thank you for joining us this year. It's been amazing. We've loved being a part of your world and you a part of our world. And we are going to leave you with something special at the end of this episode for Christmas. But we love you guys. And hello from us.
Bye.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, 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 and heaven and nature sing. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
See you in 2024. Hello from us.